As promised, we begin a new season of our Farm Stress series on the farm. This week in part one, the story of Sam McLemore in Starkville, a community-supported ag farmer. He had big dreams, especially after a prosperous decade of success serving his customers.
I'm Sam McLemore. I'm from Port Gibson, Mississippi. In 2009, right after I graduated, I actually hiked the Appalachian Trail and read about spin farming, small plot intensive farming, where you could approach landowners, even if it's backyards, and set up these small vegetable plots and be able to make enough money to make a living gardening essentially in people's backyards. On that same hike, I met another lady that I hiked with for a few days who had a lot of food sensitivities. And she was part of a CSA, which is a community supported agriculture program, one of the original CSAs in the country. She kind of encouraged me to look more into it and to grow naturally. And I started Bountiful Harvest in 2011.
CSA is a model focused on direct-to-consumer marketing. It's a subscription type of model where customers that we will call CSA members or CSA shareholders pay a fixed fee for a share of a farmer's harvest ahead of the season.
We started in our backyard with 10 families that bought into our summer CSA in 2011. But their investment was repaid in produce instead of dollars. So from the start, we actually didn't take on any debt other than that to our customers. The demand just increased exponentially in 2020. You know, as things shut down, people were looking to secure their food, and so we sold out our CSA season immediately and had people like on a waiting list that spring. There was also really good weather in 2020 and the beginning of 2021, and so our strawberry crops both did great those 2 years and had exceeded our like past averages. And we had this opportunity to purchase this new cultivating tractor, which is kind of like a specialty piece of equipment for small vegetable operations. It's the first bank loan that we've taken out as a farm. At that point, we were dreaming big and planning to go bigger, to potentially even open up more ground than we have now. However, with the combination of warm weather last November and December, and then extremely heavy rains in February and March this year, our strawberries did terrible, and we only harvested 150 pounds this year, which we should have been somewhere around 5,000 pounds. Our plan with the harvest of, our strawberry harvest was to be paying off debt that we had incurred to plant spring crops and buy stuff that we needed, like pints and containers and bags and different things that we need to run the farm through the year. Each week as the harvest was less and less, it was like, that's just not gonna be there. And the bills kind of started backing up at that point.
CSA is a good marketing model. It may be profitable for farmers. However, it is difficult. When you're operating a CSA, you need to make sure that you have a crop rotation and crop succession to be able to meet the needs of the shares every week. You need to have 5 to 10 different products that you know that you are going to be able to harvest each week, right? So you need to understand production, you need to understand crop rotations, you need to understand planting seasons, harvesting days, frost days, what crops produce better in what plot in your land, what is the best rotation that you can have.
We plant over 100 different varieties out here, and there's probably 40 different crops that we're doing throughout the year. So that diversity, it helps us to spread the risk, but it can also hurt us in that we're not able to focus on a crop and get it really good.
This is arugula, astro arugula. You get like 4 or 5 seeds per hole, which will put it nice and dense. If I had all the tools for the tractor, I'd have a seeder that mounted on the tractor and be able to seed 3 lines at once. But instead, I'm gonna have to try to walk these lines that I just laid out with the basket weeder up front and try to get my seeder to stay in the lines that it left.
That's an issue that small-scale producers face, which is limited access to capital, limited access to equipment. And while technology is great, right, it has allowed us to produce more efficiently. Generally, corporate farms are able to invest in that equipment, and they're able to benefit from the gains in technology, gains from the scale of production, having lower cost, producing more at lower cost, increasing supply, which generally puts down pressure on prices. Small farmers do not benefit from that. So are consumers willing to pay a premium for local fresh products and to support the local environment? And there are a target market that is willing to pay a premium, but you have to understand that not everybody is willing to pay a premium. Survival rates for small farmers is only 44%. So more than half of the operations that open close.
We've got big plans and dreams of what this place could be if we were to invest more into it. But at this point, it's got to stretch so thin on finances. It's like we can't do anything new or improve because we've got to catch up. This year especially has been the toughest year yet. You know, when you have less crops in the ground, then you have less income coming. You know, we're selling everything basically by the ounce or by the pound. And, you know, we've got this labor going into it, but don't always get the pounds coming out of it. So it's tricky to figure all of that and to have enough to keep coming in, yeah. Luckily, my wife has a good job, and we've been able to live within her means, you know, and be able to. She's been able to take care of a lot of the things that the farm is not meeting the needs of. And there are definitely conversations of, do we just close the farm altogether? Do we cut it back to, you know, just a smaller size that's more manageable and sell the tractor so we don't have that loan, and sell other equipment and just reduce, you know, pare everything way down? Like, do I just go work for, you know, someone else and get a salary or, you know, just get an hourly job? Do I start delivering pizzas? You know, what is it that I'm gonna do? Am I going to be a door dasher? Or we talked about all sorts of options. Because the farm will take all that you'll give it, you know, and there's always more to do on a farm than you could ever do in a day or a year. No matter if you had all the help, you know, there's always something else that you could be improving.
had to, if it comes to you closing the farm, like how would that feel?
Yeah, I mean, there'd be a huge disappointment in that I'm not able to continue doing, this job that I love to do. A huge disappointment, I feel like, in letting our customers down and our community that we see every Saturday morning at the farmers market. To have to end those relationships from that point it'd be tough, and it'd be tough to have to take all this down and sell it. That it would definitely be, it'd be a big project to do, and it would cost money just to close it. So it's almost like we need to keep it going just to keep it rolling. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna be able to make it through. We're making the payments, some further behind than I would like, but we're making the payments. And we have community support. People want produce, so if we can just get it grown, we'll be able to get out of it. I think that one thing that I learned when hiking the Appalachian Trail is that you have different perspectives. I went from ridge to ridge and mountaintop to mountaintop. And as you do that, sometimes you're just walking along the ridge, but sometimes you got to go down and cross those rivers. And so there's ups and downs. And so remembering that there's highs and lows in it all. And it's a journey that you can make it through if you just keep walking.
Sam has a great attitude, but very important. If you or someone you know is in emotional crisis, call or text 988 anytime for confidential free crisis support.